Welcome to the Soundance Festival Artist Talks. My name is Beatrix Joyce. I'm a performance artist and dance writer based in Berlin, and I'm joined today by Imola Nagy and Gábor Hartáni, who are the artists of the piece Changeless. So would you be so kind to very briefly introduce yourselves and tell us what your role was in the piece?
Sure. Hi, I'm Imola Nagy. I come from Hungary, but right now I'm based in Berlin. And I'm a dancer, performer, choreographer.
I'm Gábor Hartáni. I'm also from Hungary, but I'm based in Berlin. And yeah, I'm a cellist, improviser, kind of composer, performer.
Great. So first of all, thank you for such a really beautiful, quite sensitive performance. I wanted to firstly ask you, how did you meet and how did the collaboration start?
Well, actually it's funny, we both lived in Amsterdam before Berlin, but there we didn't even meet. We did meet briefly, but...
Yeah, because someone introduced us. I was working with another musician who was working with you, and then because there weren't so many Hungarians, he was like, oh, do you know this other Hungarian performer? And we just met on a performance, which was also like a collaboration of dance and music, and we someone introduced us, but then we never actually crossed our lines again there.
Yeah, and since then, or at least for me, it was always in my back of my mind, and it would be nice to reconnect or see if we could do something together. And finally, last year, there was an opportunity. I'm part of this art collective called Youngblood Initiative, and every year we have a showcase with a certain topic. And last year, the topic was the infinite wheel of time, which can always be interpreted very broadly. And then I thought maybe for this, or actually I just reached out to Imola to start rehearsing, trying out if it's working, if we have a good chemistry.
Actually, we started rehearsing before that, I think.
I think maybe I had this already in mind, but...
We just wanted to try how it works to improvise together. Because also after Amsterdam, we moved here separately, but roughly in the same time. And then after a while, we figured out, oh, now you're here and I am here. And then it's like, maybe we could start something.
Yeah.
But then we
prepared for this showcase, which was in last September. And that's when we showed it for the first time.
Yeah. I find it interesting because I'm wondering, as you have have worked together before and you know each other well, maybe artistically, and I'm wondering, do you improvise everything, or do you work with a certain score, or is it like a combination of set and free material, or is it very, very free? Or I wonder about that.
Well, in this case, the whole process started with improvisation. We were talking about this topic and what kind of ideas, feelings, and thoughts we have about it. And then around that, we started to improvise. And throughout, a couple of months, things started to crystallize, especially musically for me first.
The music.
And I work a lot with improvisation. I really love that. But in this process, I also really enjoy it as something new, like a theme, and especially a rhythmic progression and harmonic progression started to emerge, and I really like that, and I was keeping that and developing it throughout the process. So the music in this piece, eventually, let's say half, or improvisation, but also the non-improvised part is just loose, and we are giving space for the shared energy of each run to kind of dictate the tempo and the changes and how long certain parts can be stretched or not. So we are flexible with it.
But when we performed this piece for the first time in September, it was more improvisation than set or structured improvisation. And I think it's getting a little bit more structured, but for my side, the movements themselves are not set.
Yeah.
There are certain changes, or there are cues in it, or the spatial structure, where am I and what time in the piece and what's happening in the music when I'm there is set, but everything in between is improvised. It's more the topic, the feelings, the connection of, there is like, for example, this line that I'm taking from the wall to the very front of the stage that has a certain image that I shared with Gábor, and also the other path has another image, and all these images, they build up this story. And every kind of section in the piece was taking shape from us improvising, and then either first a movement idea, or like a movement score, or a movement picture or sensation appeared, and then the music kind of built, or
sometimes
teamed up with it, or the other way
around.
around. Yeah, exactly. But it's important for us. I think we can share that it's. We hope that we will perform it more and more, but always keep space in it for change, and always keep it fresh and leave room for improvisation.
Yeah, I mean, the recording that I saw that you sent me is very different than what I saw today, so I can see how it really totally transforms each time in a new space or a new setting.
Yeah.
Also, this was the first time we were able to work with professional lights.
Yeah. That
So
also gave an extra layer of.
definitely changed everything, or at least visually.
And I'm also actually really quite intrigued now by the topics, because you both mentioned the themes and the topics, and so I'm wondering, could you elucidate a bit on that?
Yes.
What are the concepts or the topics you're working with?
Okay, so the general, or the more common, or the umbrella that everything else in the piece kind of fits under, is connected to this previous performance that we did, the Infinite Wheel of Time. And because of that, we started working with the idea of cycles, and how repetition is part of our everyday life. How is it supporting us, or how is it maybe a disadvantage? Thinking about cycles in short term, or small, really day by day, how you go on in your life, or even in a bigger picture of life and death, or just the circularity, how do you, or even your patterns, your behavioral patterns, or just things that you're used to doing. Are they helping you? Are they going against you in certain times? And that's the big one. And under that, there are, I don't know how much we should open this, because it's a little bit personal as well. And the idea is also to not say something that is very accurate and precise, and leave it to kind of the audience, or the viewer, or the experiencer, to fill up these
that kind of meaning
sections, yes,
interpretation,
to create their own story. But maybe
we can share something.
I can add
It's very general.
Maybe a bit more about also the title, or changeless. We are writing it with this, I don't know, line, kind of separating change and less. It's also one inspiration for me. Also, Keith Jarrett has one album called Changeless with his trio, where they really improvising without any set material, no standards. They normally playing standards. They are one of the most famous jazz standard trio. But in this record, they just go for it.
Okay.
And they have 4 tracks and nothing is said, and it's really flowing in circle, and this was one thing which inspired me, plus this question about the daily routine, the life cycles, and also hearing so much from media and around us that you should get better, you should change, you can be the best version of yourself, and all this pressure and everything. And it's a good, we are wondering, or I'm wondering, if it's really necessary. Is it really making us better? Is there this pressure of changing is really necessary? I mean, anyway, there is a natural kind of cycle of change, almost, you can say, or some, maybe, I don't know who said that maybe the change is the only constant. So this playing with this word also, there is always change, but we shouldn't want to change all the time. We should allow things to flow and be part of the whole somehow. This it's very loosely, this kind of little snippets of inspirations or thoughts that came up to me during the process, and still finding new stuff which can be applied or can be relevant.
Yeah, I think I definitely see that. It's really nice to hear how you are like embodying that in a way and playing that. What I found really beautiful, or like the most striking moments for me in the piece, were actually these moments of transition, like when you could see that you were kind of moving into a different dynamic or a different sphere somehow. And is that something you're working with as well, like the kind of rate of change, let's say, like how quickly it goes to the next scene, maybe?
Yeah. Okay. For me in the movement, it's maybe I share a little bit about how I experience it from inside with these changes. Like, what's interesting for me is that how many ways can you embody something? And in the beginning, for example, I think about myself as just a mass of material that's coming alive, partly because of his music or him. And who I am, what is the thing that I am while I'm changing? Is it something moving me, or am I the energy that's moving the things around me? Am I turning by myself? Is something turning me? And then after the moment when I come standing for the first time, it's sort of this inside me, this realization that I'm something that has a shape of a human, but I'm not sure how that will work with me. How can I work as in this body? What is this that's happening to me? And all this transformation is, the sections are very clear, but how you get there is like also an inside. You have to work from inside. Like, I know that I'm transforming. I'm this material. Then I'm something else. Then I'm moved by this. Then this force is dragging me here. Then I'm pulled there. So there are places where we arrive, but we don't know how we're going to arrive there. We just know that this is the next step where I'm becoming this thing. But the room for the change is where the most improvisation happens from my side. And I mean, the transition while I'm changing from one to the other is like, it's always different. Everything is affecting it.
Yeah, this idea of gradual change, transition, evolution, I don't know, becoming, decaying, I don't know, energy into matter, and then dissolving again. So these all kinds of...
dissolving is a really good word,
Yeah, all kinds of like...
Processes?
Yeah, processes or textures or ways of changing or disappearing, becoming, like... And there is gradual and sudden, and how these affect the sound, the movement, each other. it's a,
And in the movement, there is not only one moment in the piece, but more. When I'm actually disappearing, or I finish to exist in the form that I built up, and then something else takes its place.
Right.
And the question of how this is natural and how to let go something that you are not anymore, that you finished to exist in that form. Or is it continuing, or can you just let it go? Is it coming back? If it comes back, is it the same? Is it different because you've been through other things since it has been in your body for the last time?
And are you also taking from Gábor's sound while you kind of go into these different states?
Yeah, definitely. I think that it's a little bit like a push and pull. There are parts when I'm more relying on him, and then there are parts when he is maybe following a bit, or...
it's... I see it as these forces constantly affecting each other and causing change, but there is no clear causality, in terms of who was first, or what is causing what. It's like constantly flowing and becoming and changing.
Yeah. And we can also surprise each other sometimes, because there is the kind of time when the change is almost coming, but there is not really any certain cue that change. We know that we are approaching, who is getting there first, who is going to lead the other one in that direction. It's a bit different every time.
I think I'm just thinking to the final moment in the piece where you have this kind of slow walking in a circle, and for me it was really like the orbiting of the planets somehow. I really, especially because I didn't know whether you were going to collide or whether you were going to just miss each other, and you kind of did both, I guess. At the end and maybe not collision is maybe too strong a word, but you came together. So I'm wondering, whether that was a choice just today, or whether that's something that is set that you come back to, or is there a certain, let's say, a certain meaning or a certain intention that you have with this final scene?
Yeah.
This final scene was kind of set. I mean, that when I finish the music, when I stand up, and where we meet, that can be different every time, but we know that we wanted this to be the final picture, and it was one of the inspiring thought for also like this orbiting, this gravity circles, and being on a trajectory. Yeah,
you're being the constant, and I'm kind of being a pendulum around you.
Yeah,
and
then finally I also joined this orbit, like. In this piece, I don't move much. I'm more kind of the sound, as of with other improvisative works. I also like to change my position because of the sound, but also because it's a moving body in the space. But here somehow it felt right, and also eventually it fitted the concept that to have something static and almost like a point of gravity.
Right.
Which is not moving, but it also moving in a weird way, because the sound is everywhere. It's moving constantly, but at the same time, at one point. So this also creates kind of a tension, or emphasizes some of the underlying ideas we had about the topics.
Also, in the end, as the music is building down, the movement is also fading out, and I'm leaving this repetitive movement section bit by bit. So and the idea is that it kind of fades together. It goes into the fog. And we return to this circle, which is similar to the light in the very beginning. And the idea is that, from my side, is that we return to the same kind of space, the same
You're very
atmosphere.
balanced also. It's really like entering an equilibrium where you're kind of each other's counterparts somehow.
Yes. And it's, for me, it's always a question that we meet once more, but we don't know if we are going to meet again, because by that time it's dark. And in the same time, it can, in my head, it can also be, the end could be the beginning as well. Like I could go sit down and he could take it again from the circle, and it can connect.
It can be also
itself.
maybe infinite, like
Yes.
from the viewers, you think
Yes.
that we are orbiting for forever, but also we are coming from nothing, darkness, and coming back
Yes.
to nothing.
To some, yeah. And there is room for
there's also
repetition.
something and nothing is also, the lines are blurred, like
Yeah.
it's a
And
bit.
for me, the question is like, in the end, is this going to repeat itself? Like, is this whole cycle, is it going to start again from where we started? Or is it going to be something else? Because after this darkness, there is a different kind of light.
Right.
Yeah. Or
Yeah, we
even
don't know.
even if it's different, is it something else? Or maybe it's also the same, even if it's different. So yeah, these kind of layers. we
And it's
had
funny
in-
that you mentioned the planets, because we also talked about that before. Yeah.
Great. Yeah, I think we're probably going to have to end there.
Okay.
All right.
But yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you.
It's
Thank
been
you.
really great to hear more about your process and to
Thank
hear
you.
more about the ideas behind the work. And yeah, I really look forward to seeing it evolve.
Thank you. We hope,
Going from
we
something
hope there
into
will be
nothing into
possibilities.
something.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
yeah, going
Yeah.
on
We'll be on it.
infinitely. So yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.